Good afternoon to you. 4:34. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. And I want to welcome in Marty Nwachukwu. She is a member of Erie County United and an impressive young person with some great ideas to definitely ruminate about, Marty, for sure. All right. We are a family show. We'd like to get an origin story. You said you grew up in Pittsburgh, huh?
Yes, sir. So I'm a West African immigrant, but I moved to Pittsburgh when I was 1 year old. My father was a taxi driver for many years of my life, and my mom is still an operating nurse. So I grew up in Pittsburgh in the Hill District, and 2011, I graduated from high school and moved up to Erie for Edinburgh. Spent some time there, graduated, went back home to Pittsburgh for a little bit, and then moved back here permanently in 2017.
What was your degree?
History.
Okay.
History, yes.
Anything in particular that has informed you as you
I think all history rhymes and speaks to each other, and I feel like there's a lot going on right now that is very reminiscent of other historical periods, so nothing is surprising.
Yes. It kind of repeats itself.
Yes.
I reached out to a friend of mine to connect us because I thought whenever I've seen you at Citizens to be Heard at Erie City Council, I've been impressed with your arguments. Maybe not always agreeing with them, but really impressed with how you made your arguments, and it really kind of comes down to affordability. That basically, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. When I say affordability, we literally just had the lieutenant governor on an hour ago.
Okay, awesome.
Talking about affordability. So when you process that as a member of Erie County United and with your own worldview, what do you process that as?
Affordability is recognizing that we are living in what I would call the second coming of the Gilded Era. The gap between the working class and the owning class has grown to be the largest disparity in human history. And so when we talk about affordability, it's addressing the cost of living crisis that exists right now. It's the cost of medications and medical bills. It's the cost of rising gas. It's the cost of rising utilities, and how with stagnant wages, people are feeling stuck. And it's hitting every generation, from the silent to the Gen Z who are just now getting into a job market. Everyone is being impacted in some sort of way. And there's more that people share in common than they would think. So I'm encouraging people to get out into the community and share what they're experiencing, so we can all see and assess what's going on and try to make a vision for a better economy together.
So your goal is to make a better economy. We basically... Would you say that we no longer have a market-based economy where if just by pulling you up by your bootstraps, you can make a better way for yourself, or getting a better job, or building skills? I think about that person, in the healthcare field. Right, your mom knows a bit of this. You might start out as a nurse's aide, but then you become an LPN, a practical nurse. Then you might become an RN, and then you might get your master's degree, and you're running the hospital. That kind of. I mean, that's how you stack your skills. Right.
I think there was a time where that was very true for a lot of people, but as someone who was born in '93, so I'm in the millennial generation. I'm a younger end of the millennial generation. Those pathways are becoming more limited. So healthcare is still one of those growing industries where you can go and hopefully afford to go get your LPN or your CNA license, and go on to become like a nurse practitioner. But
And you can do it free at the community college.
And we're blessed that we have a community college, so you can get so many programs for free. But that is not the case for many people around, not even just this region, but this country. Mm-hmm. And so people are losing jobs to, I'm surprised. I've ran into an experience here where someone has lost a job to AI. People are losing jobs to AI. The cost of school is getting more expensive. Some of our flagship schools are cutting programs that would have been available to me 10 years ago. You know, so the economy is not shifting to address the needs of Gen Z who are entering a service-based economy with fewer manufacturing options and fewer options for that pathway going up into education. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, but in the same breath, I'm hearing from these employers saying, quote, nobody wants to work or they're not getting the skills.
True.
Can you, share, okay, I'm a 60-something.
Right.
You're a 30-something.
Right.
Share to me what I might not get I actually do get it, but as if I was that employer saying, nobody wants to work. 'Cause I can't tell you how many people come behind these microphones and say exactly that.
The point of contention that I think a lot of employers find it hard to receive is wages. People understand that wages are not fair. So there are places now starting at 15. There are some places starting at 18. But when you're renting a 1-bedroom for 800 and something, and you have student loan debt, and you have a car note, that all compounds to you having a high cost of living. And so there are people making choices about where they're going to put their energy in the workforce. So there are people who are choosing jobs where you're going to work more hours versus a job where you might make more, but they're going to cut your hours. That's another part of the situation that people are not talking about. There are many companies that are allowing workers to work only a certain amount of time to keep them from earning the benefits of health insurance and a wage that's going to fully support them. It's a regular thing from seniors who should be retired to 24-year-olds just entering the job market, working 2 to 3 jobs to try to sustain themselves. So whether it's, healthcare not being something readily available to them or them trying to send themselves to school, people are picking up multiple jobs to try to afford to live. And trying to afford to live and getting to that next level of becoming a homeowner or getting that degree is becoming harder to achieve.
And are you saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so let me ask you this. Would education, would advancing skills, would going back and becoming skilled as a welder or as a plumber, or as an electrician, getting those kind of skills that can't be replaced by AI.
Right.
Does that not help the situation here? Because again,
it does help the situation, but how many of those jobs are readily available in our economy? There are still so many people who are getting their degrees, whether it's at Edinburgh, Mercyhurst, the community college, and they're going to Pittsburgh, they're going to Cleveland, there aren't options here. So whether you get your degree here, another thing is the jobs coming here and jobs being able to pay you enough to stay here. There was a story I just heard last week where there was a young woman living downtown and she got priced out of her apartment and making what she does at a local coffee shop. She was saying she didn't think she could stay here. She was looking towards moving to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
There are many young people like that who are trying to build their life here, but because of the economic environment in Erie, they can't sustain themselves and we're losing them.
You've been around since 2017.
Yes, I've lost many a friend to the economy here, actually.
Yes. Did it turn because of COVID, you think? Or in a post-COVID scenario?
COVID hasn't helped it, but the friends I lost left before COVID hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because...
college educated people with
Right.
master's degrees not being able to find and sustain a job here. So they've gone to Baltimore, they've gone to Pittsburgh, they've gone out west. Yes.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying because, most of my friends have had their educated children, their,
not here.
4-year degree children move away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People who stay here, if you're blessed and you have a job that keeps you here, you stay here. But there are many people who make the choice to actively stay here, knowing that they're staying to serve and try to uplift Erie. But for anyone else who can't make it, the better option has been and is to leave. And that's why I'm fighting for our economy to serve those who are the most underrepresented in our public conversations.
Talk about who those types of people are, because again, I'm hearing you talk about, educated folks that have skills but are not finding a place, and we're also seeing that like the major tech firms are laying people off. They overhired during COVID, and now you can't get a gig, at Amazon anymore or what have you.
Yes.
But talk about some of the folks you're talking about, where maybe they are, at the lower socioeconomic levels.
Yes, so there's someone I know who had a job at WabTech. During their tenure at WabTech, didn't receive the training they felt they needed, and then was laid off subsequently when the program ended there, and has since then jumped from job to job, low paying wages. There are a few people I work with who are home care workers. I don't know if you know how low home care workers are paid. So they're working two to three different agencies trying to make a living and survive. There are people who are also trying to enter the art scenes and be creatives. And we all know that's obviously a hard pathway, but
Sure.
What we would call minimum wage jobs or part-time wage jobs don't pay enough for people to even explore or spend the time building that entrepreneurial enterprise that they're trying to, you know what I mean? So those are a few of the examples that I have in the back of my pocket.
Yeah. You talk about a cost of living crisis. Has it ever been easy to be a kind of a low wage earner, but still kind of make it?
I don't think it's ever been easy, but I think it's steadily getting harder.
We never had $800
rent for one, because when I moved here in 2017, I lived close to downtown in the Gannon neighborhood, and I was paying $525 for a one bedroom.
That sounds about right.
And then when I got a dog, I was paying I think $15 pet rent. So let's say I was paying $530. I don't know what that apartment's going for now, but that starting apartment now would be $700 and something. As 10 years ago, starting on my own, I had to buy my own furniture. I had student debt. I didn't have a car. All of that was on me because my parents still had a sister to support going through college. Sure. They now have an 18-year-old they're supporting to go through college. So it's not even just the individual not being able to afford, it's that the support network also doesn't have the income to support people trying to rise up, you know? So when one person in the economy is struggling, everyone's struggling. And I think that's what you're seeing across the city, is that we have a depressed economy where people are not feeling they have the agency to move up. And we need to have a concerted effort and plan to address those at the bottom.
Is that dangerous, though, to identify everyone as I shouldn't say everyone, but to identify those that you're describing as being victims of their circumstance, as opposed to not having? You're saying they don't have agency. Doesn't everybody have some kind of agency, or else unless you are somehow disabled, or that you have a special circumstance, Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I always can go back to my own personal experiences. So my father was a taxi driver. My mom, even though she became a registered nurse, was going to school most of my childhood. So when we were really little, things like WIC and SNAP supporting them. And then growing up in Pittsburgh, there were many a literacy program or an after school program that supported my parents in expanding my education. There are limited options here in Erie. There are some, but at least in the late 90s to early 2000s, growing up in Pittsburgh, there was a concerted effort to uplift the children and the parents of people living on the margins. Not necessarily the poor of the poor, but the poor of the poor were being supported and the people on the margins were being supported. We don't have an economy doing that anymore. So me sitting here is intentional programming of people, preschool education programs, summer camps that I got sent to for free. I know what it looks like when people invest in people and what those results yield.
So you're saying that a lot of that stuff, because has fallen off the
budgets have been cut. We're about to see a huge windfall this summer when it comes to SNAP, Medicaid, these things that help people put a little bit of money in their pocket and afford their Medicare or their medicine and their food and other things. That's all coming out of pocket now, and that also puts more demand on our food donation services. So when something gets cut or struggles somewhere else, it impacts everything else in the economy.
Again, it was so powerful when you came in front of council to talk about the cost of living crisis. Your idea was quite interesting about activating the rainy day fund. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten any traction? What's been the response to that?
Not much traction or response on that, but to be honest, I haven't pushed them on it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean, explain that to our audience of what you're thinking there.
So
Because
it's
the
not just
governor's
Erie.
got other ideas for that rainy day fund. He's already dipping into it for like $5 billion,
Okay.
just to balance the budget.
So it's not just Erie that is struggling. Yeah.
sure.
Pennsylvania is an aging, old population. Our infrastructure is old. Our population is old. It needs a lot of emergency investment. So Erie is somewhere where we have like lot of nonprofits not paying into the tax base. We have a lot of that across the state. So what would it look like for us to subsidize the people in the cost of emergency crisis, whether it's helping pay for rent, whether it's helping pay for homeowners or landlords do some sort of repairs on these properties that are falling apart. People need emergency aid. We're watching the federal government give back money to some of these corporations who, spent out a lot for the tariffs. What would it look like to give some sort of emergency money back to the working class people? That's all we're asking. Let's be intentional and uplift our people just in the same manner that we are these big businesses.
That's interesting. The concept of what we've got as a infrastructure as far as social services, you don't think is meeting the need.
If they were, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in.
I mean, because we are resource rich in Erie generally when it comes to mental health, drug and alcohol, a lot of human services, a lot of folks come from other parts of the state to come here for rehab even,
Right. If it's anything like what I'm running into housing, there's a lot of programming, but people are not either meeting the income requirements or they're short staffed or there's always something going on where the people I'm sending to get some of these services are not getting those services.
So you're acting as a connector to what the current programs that are out there.
And I'm seeing a lot of gaps. And I'm trying to build relationships with some of the people.
How do we get that on a?
I think the mayor's trying their best.
Paper? On a whiteboard.
The mayor's trying their best within city government and all these other agencies, at least on development, to get them communicating with each other. But I think there is a need on both county and city to also bring in these nonprofit actors and hold them accountable to how many people they're serving, having conversations about how those people are experiencing those services, because what I'm seeing is a lot of gaps and a lot of sometimes harm coming from it. So when you say we're service rich, we have so many programs, I see that, but I'm also seeing people fall through the cracks, even though we have all this programming.
It sounds like a lot of the people that you're concerned about are working, yet they're not making it. Whereas it almost would be better to be totally in a.
That's terrible. If you're saying what I'm suggesting is what sometimes I hear about. If you make enough or you work a little bit more, it feels like the services that could help you just get over are beyond your reach.
Yeah, they call it the cliff.
Yes. And I would argue that we need to have those services expanded to those people who are on that edge, who would need it the most.
And why can't somebody figure out, I'm totally with you on this, Marty. Why can't somebody figure out a sliding scale that if I'm making $15 an hour, which is $30,000 a year, if I get all the hours, mind you.
Right.
But that at $30,000 that I don't lose everything.
Right. It also goes to speaking about we often cite 16501 as the poorest zip code.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of the towers that we live here and the residents who.
And there's a lot of Gannon students and so on.
Yeah,
right?
but they exist and they survive off of Social Security, and a lot of those people are retired people or people with disabilities. My question is, why is the government paying for them to live on such little income? That's a moral question. If these are our poorest, if these are people who are mentally or physically disabled, why are we okay paying them to live on so little?
Yeah,
that's a governmental issue. That's not a me and you having control over that issue.
I mean, the government has set those numbers.
Yes.
Haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes to the same thing of, you talk about your home care workers or people that are personal care assistants.
Yes.
I have a great passion about all that. And we can't seem to make the state legislature budge on those reimbursement rates for places like CRI or Voices or even the Barbers, the Barber National Institute. Those reimbursements have been so they're just so inadequate for what kind of work those agencies do, and they can't. How can you recruit? And so you have to talk about gaps. They say we have 1,000. We could hire another 1,000 home care workers.
Yeah, but you know how hard that job is for the pay that they give them and the care that those people give them.
So what? I don't want to just mention problems without solutions.
Right.
And so, what would be your top 3 priorities? Is this a policy thing? Is this a community conversation thing? What are you thinking, Marty?
It's multiple things. So it's having conversations around building housing and development that is inclusive of the public. So what we're finding at City Hall is that oftentimes by the time a decision about a property being built or expanded on, it's too late by the time it comes to City Council. So we need to get people more involved and engaged, attending the zoning authority boards and the redevelopment authority boards. We have explored the idea of inclusionary zoning. We have explored the idea of public developer models, but the end all be all is that there needs to be more housing built that is accessible and affordable to most working class people. And so that means having conversations with incoming developers around setting aside a percentage of their buildings to be affordable. So build the marketplace.
Have you seen the Infinite Erie housing proposal? 250 units at $60 million. Some of them, the average is $180,000 a unit. It's crazy numbers.
But we need to see that on the west side. We need to see that on the east side. We need to see that on the south side. We need to see housing not only expanded and built, but we need to see our blighted properties. Not all of them need to be torn down. What would it look like to invest and repair some of these buildings? So as long as we're building new properties, we also need to be investing in our older ones.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just getting this conversation started, but we've got to leave it here. Marty Nwachukwu, you're with us here. Again, if somebody wanted to reach out, what's a good way to reach out to you?
They can look us up on Facebook at eriecountyunited.org, or they can call us at the Booker T. Washington Center.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we're often at City Council meetings.
Definitely, for sure. All righty, more after the news here. It's Talk Erie.